weekends?
Yes, I have been partaking in
We both
Coachella.
have, all right?
Because there was
Just trying to be
some
cool.
what you call it, ever since they started streaming
Like
it on
streaming it.
YouTube, it's kind of been, it coincides
That's
with
great, by the
Easter.
way.
It's
Yeah.
it's a great time. You get to see some of your favorite acts if they are on the channels that have been selected and whatnot. So yeah, I did partake, but you know what? I've got to say the vibe of it wasn't as strong as previous years.
I mean, I'll start off with I certainly forgot that it was happening because usually it coincides with Easter weekend, but
Yeah.
Easter just happened to be earlier
For
this
us,
year.
by the way, Australia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
And
around
and to be correct, right? For
those celebrating
for Christians,
Easter.
Roman Catholics, because Orthodox has just happened as well, right?
Yes,
But
yes.
it happens a couple of weeks afterwards.
Yes.
If I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
So those folds of
Yeah.
Christianity. So that's why, like, I totally forgot during the first weekend. I was like, oh, it's happening. But I believe there are other factors for why it felt a bit weaker this year.
So a couple of things before we jump into what happened this year. Did you know that Coachella has been running since 1999?
Wow.
We'll do now.
Wow.
It's been a
So
while.
it's, yeah.
It's
So it's
25 years.
Yeah, and it's just I guess from where it was back then, obviously, not many people having access to it. And I remember it becoming a huge thing when I was in high
It
school.
was massive pop culture.
2000s.
Yeah. And that was an aspiration of mine. It's like, oh, one day I'm going to go to Coachella. No way.
Hey, never say never.
Not anymore. Not now. Especially with the way music is going now.
But the YouTube stuff is good. Like, as soon as
YouTube
they
stuff-
opened it up, I think that,
When they're opening up and being able to stream that stuff, that's been great.
yeah.
However, this year, so very quickly before we get into it, the lineup included acts such as Lana Del Rey, Tyler the Creator, Doja Cat, No Doubt, Reunion, Blur was there, and then some other favorites of up and coming artists that I've heard of. But what happened with YouTube is people were there was a lot of conjecture and a lot of backlash about the audio this year. So the
Oh, it was
quality of it,
horrendous.
Oh, no.
the quality of it wasn't great. And overall, as a whole, I guess many people are feeling the same way that Kat, you felt about it, because ticket sales have been considered the slowest in the decade for this past decade of the festival. Because again, line up. If we're talking about those acts, and don't get me wrong, right? I don't like to yuck people's yums, right? I don't like to poo-poo. I don't like to poo-poo on it, right? But it's just that thing of Coachella is so broad,
Yep.
right? If we're looking like it's
You mean in
catering
the
to
music, the genre
yeah,
spectrum?
it's catering to the different audiences. Like, it's a lot of money to fork out, right? You think of the last time you've gone to a festival of some kind, and it's like there's got to be a reason why you went there to see the majority of the acts. You're thinking of your bang for your buck, right?
Yeah.
And it's a long ass day too.
But the prices have remained relatively consistent, right? Like, it's not like the prices increased or something, right?
Oh, well, it depends if you're going to do like a 1 day or a 3 day.
Yeah, but
right?
are they in the same?
Because your
They're around
Fridays.
the 400, 500, or 1,000 for 3 days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because because you got to factor for your accommodation as well, right?
Yeah.
You got to do travel to get there.
So
Your Friday is going to be it's technically your weaker day out of the 3 if you're doing the full weekend.
Yep.
And then Saturday, Sunday, it all kind of builds up from there. Kat.
I was just gonna chime in that allegedly, comparing ticket prices from 2020 to 2023, it is $377 more expensive.
But that makes you'd
But-
expect it to increase, yeah.
Inflation.
Inflation. We
yeah,
went
so that's
through a
fine.
pandemic.
I mean, ish, kind of.
Yeah.
What are we attributing it down to? Because you're right. When we were watching it, last year seemed a bit more. But look, I think the best years were it's the acts. Surely we agree that it's the
Yes.
how weak this
Long,
act set was,
long
right?
gone are the days of Baychella when it was Childish Gambino or
I think the
Yeah, those
Gambino one
big
and
pools.
the Beyonce one were the last two real
The weekend wasn't that bad
I
as
think it was
well.
horrendous, to be honest. But I'm not a weekend fan. I think the weekend's live act game is not the strongest personally. But as an artist, he's obviously huge. So okay, hold up. So my question to you guys is, do you think back in the day, there was was it the 90s that just Coachella as a buzzword
Oh, early 2000s.
Early 2000s, right? So around that time, late 90s, early 2000s, right? Everyone wanted to be in Coachella. And I think that permeated to the artists. Every artist wanted to be at Coachella. But we were talking, and did you say, apart from the big acts, do the middle acts get paid? It's not something that you do to make a lot of money, right?
So
It's a marketing
the
exercise.
lower acts, the smaller ones in the poster, they get allegedly 10,000 for their appearance, and then when you get up to the mid tier, then there's a bit more of a bit more wiggle room.
Yeah, okay.
But obviously your big what you call it,
the headlines,
the
right?
headliners
of
that
the
should in
nights,
theory
yeah.
pull the audience. That is,
That's where they cash in.
yeah, they're the ones that get up to the millions.
Okay, so we agree though that like if let's just say, I mean, it made sense, but like if Beyonce was headlining this year, would it have pulled more? Definitely more than
Yeah, it
now.
would've.
Absolutely.
But,
Yeah.
but a lot more. Yeah, no. So are we attributing it 100% to like how weak the act set was, or it's a hard one, right?
Yes.
It's a hard one.
Cost of living. Sorry,
Inflation at the moment,
It took me
yeah.
a while to get there. The cost of living is at
It
a,
has come at a very a hard economic time for I imagine a lot of the people who usually go to this festival. But I guess in a way there is a bit of combination with the artists, because for me, from my perspective especially, like the only one main artist I like saw videos from, or like was intrigued to see, was like Sabrina Carpenter.
yeah.
And so in
She
that
was pretty good actually. I wonder
Yeah.
why she's not. Yeah, she's actually not a. She wasn't the headline. She was like on the second line.
yeah.
I mean, the organizers would know, but like I think I'm having a vibe that like when Coachella was popping, artists really wanted to be there. They would go out of there because it's a good, like if you're like just on the cusp, it was a good PR stunt, right? And when you have, to me, those individuals that are going to spend that money in Coachella are like Gen Z now, Gen Y back then, right? Like that younger sort of demographic, right? And in the middle, obviously, not discriminating. But the proposition of value is two things in a music festival that demands that much money. One is your top end acts, like the big acts, but the breadth of those tier 2, tier 3, whatever you want to call it,
The
right?
supporting,
The
yeah.
support acts, because predominantly you're going to watch more of that than the icing on the cake, which is your Beyonce, your Gambino.
Like, like how are you going to compete with everyone to get up front? Like you literally have to
Exactly,
be
right?
staying there the whole damn day.
And I think
Yes.
that like this year, if anything, I have a hypothesis that the cost of living element is actually more on that mid tier of artists that didn't support the top tier, if that made sense. That being said, in my view, but like I don't listen to that sort of music. If you're having Doja Cat and Lana Del Rey as your top acts, it's
so
just,
this is
it's like power rankings.
that's the thing. And again, I don't like yucking people's yums, right?
Does it really
We're gonna
Like-
create a shirt for that.
So I watched Doja Cat's set
Hmm.
the second weekend. A bit of multitasking with work and whatnot.
Here we go.
But personally, I don't. Other than Paint the Town Red, I've not heard any of her latest album.
Yeah.
Her previous album, I
Planet
would
Her.
love that
Yeah,
album,
yeah.
and that and her set last year
Yeah.
was great.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And the same thing with Lana Del Rey, where it's like, look, I personally didn't listen to Lana Del Rey when she was like big of the time. I love Summertime Sadness, like, but that's the only thing that I know of.
Everyone loves Summertime
Other people love it, like AKA Kev for different reasons, because she's pretty and whatnot. But it's just
But usually the headline artist
there's no oomph.
Yeah. Usually
Yes.
the headline artist
There's no oomph.
is either like current, like top, like current
Like
top of pops,
clear delineation.
or they
yeah.
have or they're just royalty. Like if Kanye decided to do it, he would still pull.
And then also, don't get me wrong again, because I'm a 90s kid. No doubt was amazing. But did anyone really ask for the reunion?
Nah.
Blur, also amazing. But did anyone
didn't
really
they
ask
chuck a
them
hissy fit
to
when no one was like giving them the
giving them the kudos? And
Yeah.
this is the problem with the music festivals now, where it's if you're having to appeal to such a broad mass of people who have different tastes in music, because out of nowhere, for example, in the last couple of years as well, K-pop, like and all of those bands from like Japan and whatnot are now coming into here too. That's catering for a different audience.
Yeah.
And then bloody in the other one, you've got your doof doof happening. Like,
EDM.
I think
Yeah.
that's fine though, no?
no, but what I'm saying is, it's just there's so much more different types of
Genres.
music.
Yeah.
Like, and the same thing where TV, film, there's a fragmentation. Music is 100% the same now. So is there? My question is, I guess the big acts that everyone will listen to, or has mass appeal, are they dying now? Because out of everyone, it would be Taylor Swift, Beyonce. Who else we got?
No.
Like,
I don't think
you know
so.
what I'm-
I think. I mean, if The Weeknd came, he'd pull. If Drake came, it would pull. If Kanye came, it will pull. It's, even now, with all his like rubbish, it would still bring it. If Frank Ocean came, even like it will pull. I generally feel it's that mid tier. I really, you know why? Because like,
Wait, what do we mean with the mid tier? As in, like,
okay,
it's not.
I'll give you a great example. Like, we love Giveon. I love Giveon, right? Like, Giveon.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I give this as an example. He did it for like 5 years straight or something like that. Daniel Caesar, before he came up, he did it like 3 years straight, right? And this is before he started making his own thing. So I have a hypothesis that when these guys started dropping off, because they realized that as a financial gain, it was just expensive. They were probably losing money hauling their whole, like they weren't making enough there. So if you're not making decent money on it, then it's a PR exercise. And I think I hate calling them mid-tier, but what these artists before the superstars have realized is, instead of Coachella, because it doesn't have the pull that we used to see maybe in our social media, in our engagement, etc., we can just launch a TikTok and get equivalent, like, sort of cut through there. I mean, it's a bit of a weird hypothesis, but my gut is, if you had a lot more of those, like, really good acts, and that's not 100% right, because like a Brittany Murphy is, like, to me the same, right?
Brittany Howard.
But she's already there, right?
Like this, and this is the thing, right? Like, your mid tier acts, like, I'm looking at like the list.
Yeah, let's have a look.
This is the other thing. There's probably, again, a whole lot of artists that I don't
we
know.
don't know too, yeah.
I don't know, that other people love, right? And that's the reason why they're there, right? Like, I'm thinking, like, so I see Olivia Dean. I've heard a couple of songs from her on
she was
Spotify.
there?
She was there. But no, she was not on the
She's
on the
not big in
streaming.
America at all.
Like, yeah.
So that's the other thing. But she's really good.
Like,
actually really good.
Apparently T-Pain, Fat Joe was there.
T-Pain, right?
But like, that's of a time.
Yeah.
Apparently Lupe Fiasco was there.
Yeah, but if they're there not for like a set. They're there for like surely 1 or 2 songs.
Maybe. But it's just that thing of maybe, like, I'm gonna ask a Kev.
I see.
Maybe we're old.
We are old.
It's
but
just not for us.
We may be, but numbers don't lie. This is the worst selling Coachella in a while. And again, like, you don't have to be old to say that. Like, if again Lana Del Rey is your leading act, like, you're not attracting enough of the top acts. That's fact. If they brought in Bruno Mars with all the controversy they had, it would have sold heaps better. I'm just telling you, they're not getting the top acts, and they're definitely.
They would never put Bruno on.
I'm just saying. The example is the top acts will still pull, and how the top acts works is not only the audience, but the acts, the mid-tier acts. Heck, Bruno is doing it. Let's go. I want to be pulled part of it. That's how a fight card works. That's how all the same thing. No, it does.
Works.
Like, you
I
look
get,
at the top.
I get that. I get that. But then it's also in a year where a lot of music is coming out, right?
Yes.
And we'll talk about it in an upcoming episode.
Yes.
Coachella, maybe this is it. Coachella doesn't have the power that it used to have.
I was just gonna add, especially because now it's become a saturation point for influencers.
Yeah.
That they're just the ones being invited over.
It's
now.
that thing now where it's not about the music anymore.
It's
It's
just
about
about being
the
there.
clout, and
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
about the, it's a socialite event.
Yeah.
And maybe it's a matter of, okay, this is like, and I'm going off. I know we got to wrap up, but it's at the time you aspire to go to that. There's now that changing generation where it's like, well, yeah, I'm too old for that shit now. I'm not going to do it, right? And then you've got this other generation coming in that maybe,
I would rather watch it on TikTok.
yeah.
Yeah, I think so too. They wouldn't spend the money on it. There was a time.
I don't want to camp. What is like,
Well,
you know?
we don't. But
No, no, no. But
I agree.
if we're thinking it, there's going to be a whole lot of people,
I agree.
and it's a whole lot of money to actually come in there because trust that the price is going to surge everywhere, which comes back to this cost of living thing. It's just like it's just not affordable, and the value is not there. Be it in the acts, be it in the whole weekend in itself. Heck, be it in the like where we're at the world at the moment, where it doesn't feel right to I don't know. Again, not yucking people's yums. But
What does that even
Well,
mean?
I mean, otherwise we'll just find out how Coachella goes for next year.
I want to see next year. If one of the big acts come, I'm telling you, it'll go back. Like they just didn't have a massive headliner.
Okay.